Okay. Find out how much money needs to be deposited now into an account to obtain $4,300 future value in 8 years if the interest rate is 3% per year, compounded quarterly 4 times per year. So we're going to have to use, again, here's the formula for compound interest. It's this one right here. So it's A equals P 1 plus R over N to the NT. A is the amount later. P is the principal you invest at the start, and it grows to become the amount later. So the A is the 4,300 in our problem, right? That's the future value. That's the amount later. And then 1 plus R over N to the NT. R is the interest rate as a decimal. T is the time in years. And N is the trickiest part. That's the number of compoundings per year. Number of compoundings per year. So that's 1 if you compound once a year, 2 if you do semi-annually, 4 for quarterly, 12 for monthly. They said quarterly, 4 times a year. All right, so there's our formula. Let's write it down. So it's going to be A equals P1 plus R over N to the NT. Okay, let's see what's going on. So 4,300 is the future value. So that's our A, isn't it? That's the amount in the future. As it says in the formula here, A is the amount later, amount in the future. P is the principal you start off with now. And that's what they're saying. Find out how much money needs to be invested now. They're saying find the P, please. So the A is 4,300 equals P 1 plus, and now what's the interest rate? There it is, 3%. You got to make that a decimal, 0.03 over N. What is N? N equals 4 here, right? N is 4 because it's quarterly, 4 times a year. That's what N is. So it says right here, quarterly, 4 times a year. N is 4. So N is also 4 right there. And it's 4 right there. Times T. And what's T? How many years? Oh, there it is. 8 years. T is 8 years. So I'm going to invest that for 8 years. Is that good to there? So we plug everything in. They want us to find P, the principal, the amount that needs to be deposited now. What amount invested now will grow over 8 years to become $4,300? It's going to be some lower amount, right? Some amount lower than $4,300 invested now will grow to become $4,300 in 8 years. What is it? What's the amount now? The amount that needs to be deposited now. Well, got to solve this equation. I'll write over here. Solve for P. So how do we solve for P? Well, let me just write this out again. The only thing I'm going to fix is this power. 4 times 8, 32. Just go ahead and make that power. 4 times 8, 32. Okay, so now how do we solve for P there? What am I going to do? We'll just divide by this whole thing. By 1 plus 0.03 over 4 to the 32. And whatever you do to one side, you have no choice but to do the same thing to the other. Boom, boom, like that. Is that making sense? And so that gets P alone, doesn't it? P equals. Now, how do you do this whole thing in your calculator? You got to be a little bit careful here. Maybe I'll switch it around and write it out. So you got to go carefully. 4,300 divided by, we're going to go parenthesis 1 plus 0.03 divided by 4 to the power 32, whatever your power button is. So that's what you're going to have to do. Do that. It's 4,300 divided by parenthesis 1 plus divided by 4 parenthesis to the 32. I'm getting a principal. I got it. P came out to be 3385.53. So there it is. So in other words, you've got to invest $3,300, 3385.53. That's the amount of money you have to invest, and it'll grow to become $4,300. That's interesting, huh? You'll gain a full $1,000. Look at that. I mean, almost 1,000, just under 1,000. You'll gain almost $1,000, and that'll take 8 years. In 8 years, compounded that way, it'll grow to be 4,300 in 8 years. So again, how do we do a problem like this? What you've got to realize is they're giving us the future value. So we're using the A equals P 1 plus R over N to the NT formula. But remember, they're giving you the future value. They're giving you the A, the 4,300. And you plug in the R and the N and the NT, and then you just divide by that whole thing on both sides. Gets P alone, hit the buttons on your calculator, you find out the principal. We knew it had to be something lower than 4,300. It's in fact almost $1,000 lower is what you need to invest. And there we go.